April 2026 marked the 30th anniversary of Dexter's Laboratory, the first original Cartoon Network series. A mishmash of influences ranging from classic UPA and Hanna-Barbera cartoons to Sergio, Leone and Sam Raimi films to Japanese anime. Dexter's Laboratory marked the point when Cartoon Network began making original cartoons of its own, rather than simply rerunning old classics, and the show heralded the dawn of a new era for Saturday morning cartoons. Today we're looking back at the show's history and development and paying tribute to one of the most influential animated series of the 1990s. So, enter at your own peril, past the bolted door where impossible things may happen that the world's never seen before, in Dexter's Laboratory.
What a fine day for science!
Dexter's Laboratory was created by Genndy Tartakovsky, who was born in Moscow in 1970 and emigrated to the United States with his family from the old Soviet Union when Genndy was 7 years old. In 1991, Genndy Tartakovsky enrolled at California Institute of the Arts to study animation full-time, where he met future animators Rob Renzetti and Paul Rudish, as well as the Powerpuff Girls creator Craig McCracken. And while at Cal Arts, Tartakovsky wrote, produced and directed a student film that would become the basis for Dexter's Laboratory. In an interview with the Chicago Sun-Times, Tartakovsky describes initially designing and animating a tall, thin ballerina girl, and then pairing her with her opposite, a short, boxy little scientist who became her brother, Dexter. Early in development, Dee Dee was initially intended to be the protagonist, but Dexter and Dee Dee's roles were later switched altogether, and to contrast the two characters, Tartakovsky made Dee Dee artistic and Dexter scientific. Tartakovsky and his three classmates and friends, Renzetti, Rudish and McCracken, would soon work together on Hanna-Barbera's Two Stupid Dogs, and shortly after the three would help Tartakovsky develop Dexter's Laboratory. The pilot episode for Dexter's Lab, an episode titled Changes, was pitched to the What a Cartoon Show, Cartoon Network's animated anthology series, and premiered on February 26, 1995, to positive reviews, even being nominated for an Emmy Award. After being deemed most popular through a vote held in 1995, Dexter's Laboratory was greenlit in September that year to be the first short in the What a Cartoon lineup to be developed into a full-length original series, followed by the Powerpuff Girls. Dexter's Laboratory premiered on TNT on April 27, 1996, and the following day on Cartoon Network as the network's first original series. At only 27 years old, Tartakovsky became one of the youngest animation directors at that time.
What a fine day for science!
Dexter's Laboratory centers around Dexter, a self-described boy genius, a highly intelligent young science prodigy who has built and maintains a secret and highly advanced laboratory hidden behind a bookshelf in his bedroom. Dexter is a short, bespectacled little boy with curly red hair, whose age is never specified, and who was initially voiced by the late Christine Cavanaugh, the voice behind a variety of characters, including Chucky from Rugrats, Marty Sherman from The Critic, and her most recent role at that point being the voice of Babe from the motion picture of the same name. Cavanaugh depicted Dexter speaking with a vaguely Eastern European accent, possibly Russian, partly inspired by Tartakovsky's experiences as a child immigrant in Chicago, who would often be mocked by some children for his very thick accent. Furthermore, Tartakovsky determined that Dexter should have an accent because the character considers himself a very serious scientist, and all well-known scientists have accents. Dexter's birth is detailed in the episode Libretto, where Dexter is shown to have been born with an abnormally large cranium, causing the doctor to classify the young infant as clinically genius, and who fetches Dexter a pair of glasses. Dexter lives with his family, his older sister Dee Dee, a ditzy and fun-loving, hyperactive blonde girl, and his dim-witted parents, both stereotypical middle-class American parents, known only as Mom and Dad. His father, voiced by Jeff Bennett, works a full-time office job and comes home at 6 p.m. every day, while Dexter's mother, voiced by Kat Susie, is a dedicated housewife and depicted as a germaphobe who always needed to wear gloves. Dexter and his family live in Genius Grove, a pleasant suburb on the outskirts of an unnamed city, and both Dexter and Dee Dee attend Humour Elementary School, where Dexter is popular with his teachers as a result of being a dedicated student with good grades. Dexter's best friend at Humour is a boy called Douglas E. Mordecai III, a fellow nerd, voiced by Tom Kenny, while Dee Dee's best friends are Mimi and Lily, who are both introduced early in the series and who often visit Dee Dee at her house. As its name suggests, the central location of the series is Dexter's secret laboratory, where Dexter spends most of his free time creating his many inventions and conducting his many experiments, dressed in his iconic white lab coat and wearing purple gloves. The lab is an immense, sprawling, high-tech and even futuristic scientific facility, a blue-tinted labyrinth of shining tiled floors and seemingly endless rows of gigantic reinforced steel walls and structures housing an array of scientific wonders. The lab is located underneath Dexter's house and seems to cover much of the underground of Dexter's neighborhood, with its main entrance being a secret doorway hidden behind a bookcase in Dexter's bedroom, but which has other access points in and around the house. The lab's overall aesthetic leans into a retro-futuristic look, a mix of 1950s atomic age aesthetics and far-future technology, dominated by metallic blues and deep purples. The lab is divided into many sections, referred to as sectors, and each dedicated to a different scientific endeavor, while many older sectors of the lab are abandoned. Most of the laboratory's functions are managed by the quadruplex T3000 computer, an advanced artificial intelligence, which Dexter refers to simply as computer. The AI speaks with a female voice and has a personality of its own, demonstrating human-like behavior and genuine emotion, as well as strict loyalty to Dexter. It's even implied that Dexter is in love with Computer, at one point referring to it as his one true love, despite attempting to shut it down on more than one occasion. Aside from his computer, Dexter is also assisted by an army of robot lab assistants. Throughout the series, Dexter manages to keep his laboratory a secret from his mom and dad, two loving and devoted parents but who are extremely slow-witted and almost totally oblivious to their surroundings or to the surreal absurdities happening either to them or right in front of them. At one point, the mother thinks nothing of her newly imbued superpowers, while the father called his children by different names simply as a result of each of them being labeled differently. The rare occasions where Dexter was forced to reveal his laboratory to his parents ended with their memories being wiped. In contrast, Dexter's older sister Dee Dee, voiced by Alison Moore and later Kat Cressida, happens to be well aware of her brother's lab and has an uncanny ability to gain access to Dexter's lab despite his best efforts to keep her out, while at the same time being incredibly destructive. Dee Dee constantly manages to elude all manner of lab security, and once inside the lab, delights in playing and frolicking, often destroying many of Dexter's inventions and lab equipment in the process, although more out of ignorant curiosity than malicious intent, as Dee Dee actually does genuinely love and care for her little brother. Dee Dee has a fascination with buttons, to the point of it becoming her catchphrase. Many episodes center around Dexter's conflict with Dee Dee, either trying to keep her out of the lab, or trying to remove her from the lab, or when the two are involved in straightforward sibling rivalry. The sibling dynamic in Dexter's laboratory was partially modeled on Genndy Tartakovsky's relationship with his older brother, Alex, with Genndy comparing himself to Dee Dee and Alex, who went on to become a computer engineer, to Dexter. Aside from the conflicts with his sister, many episodes center around Dexter using his impressive inventions to solve problems, ranging from everyday situations to defeating school bullies to saving the world, even doubling as a superhero at times, akin to Tony Stark, utilizing his own armor, weaponry, vehicles, and mecha suits created by himself in his own laboratory. The recurring main antagonist of the series is Mandark, voiced by Eddie Deason. Mandark is Dexter's rival, another boy genius and classmate of Dexter, who also operates a secret laboratory within his own home, but boasts that his lab is larger and superior to Dexter's, and the two often clash in a battle of wits. Mandark does seem to have advantages over Dexter, such as a superior laboratory and, in the earlier episodes, superior intelligence to Dexter. But his main weakness is his infatuation towards Dee Dee, which Dexter uses to his own advantage. For more on the character of Mandark, be sure to check out my video on What We Know About Mandark, link in the description. Another secondary character is Major Glory, a superhero in the Dexter's Laboratory universe, a parody of Captain America and Superman, and is the leader of the Justice Friends, itself a parody of the Justice League, the Super Friends, and the Avengers. When he was still Minor Glory, the young superhero was brought up by his strict and no-nonsense Uncle Sam, who in a later episode is revealed to now be a smooth, peace-loving hippie. The super-patriotic Major Glory is the favorite superhero of Dexter, whose other childhood heroes include Albert Einstein, as well as Action Hank, a crime fighter and popular television star, a parody of several 70s and 80s action stars all rolled into one, including Chuck Norris, Mr. T, John Shaft, and Rambo. Dexter's Laboratory episodes are usually made up of 3 shorts, typically a Dexter cartoon at the start and end, and a backup segment in between, either Dial M for Monkey or The Justice Friends, both of these superhero parodies. Dial M for Monkey followed Dexter's eponymous pet monkey, who lives a secret life as a superhero fighting aliens and monsters, while The Justice Friends followed a domestic sitcom format, complete with laugh track, exploring apartment life shared by Major Glory and his 2 superhero roommates, the infraggable Crunk and Valhallen, who fight crime together and tackle challenges of everyday lives. As for Dexter's Laboratory, much of the show's humor derives from Dexter's one-sided but intense rivalry with Dee Dee. Although Dexter is of genius-level intelligence, he very rarely gets the upper hand over Dee Dee, who is far more relaxed and carefree and not always interested in or even aware that she is competing with her brother. While Dexter often overthinks and complicates matters, Dee Dee tends to follow the path of least resistance. Dexter will usually turn to science and technology to solve simple, everyday problems. While Dexter is creative, innovative, and brilliant, he's also extremely arrogant and also naive, being still a young child, and if it's not his inventions going awry, it's Dexter's own hubris that's the cause of his downfall. Dexter's Laboratory is a blend of cartoon slapstick and sci-fi satire, with a significant dose of absurd and surreal humor. A common theme is characters being oblivious to the obvious. Dexter's parents somehow remain completely unaware of the enormous scientific facility operating right below their own home. The electricity bill alone must be astronomical. Nor is it ever explained how Dexter himself can afford to create and maintain a lab like his. At one point, Dexter is shown to owe NASA $200 million in unpaid bills. Many episodes end in an unresolved state, with no clear solution offered for returning the characters to normal, like leaving Dexter in a mutated state, several clones of Dexter and Dee Dee running around, or Dexter's lab being destroyed along with most of his family's house, only for everything to return to normal by the beginning of the next episode. The animation style of Dexter's Laboratory took its cue from the limited animation of UPA cartoons of the 1950s, which became known for their stylized or simplistic designs, in contrast to the ultra-realistic animation style from Disney at the time, and which would emphasize character close-ups and camera movements in order to avoid animating every single movement. Dexter's Lab is also replete with anime aesthetics and mecha parodies. The visual storytelling often relied on intense visual gags rather than constant dialogue, similar to Japanese animation techniques, where the focus is on stylized movement. The final episode, Last But Not Beast, was a direct nod to Japanese anime, taking place in Tokyo and featuring kaiju monster elements. Aside from cartoons, the look and tone of Dexter's Lab was influenced by other filmmakers, like the Coen brothers, who are adept at telling a story with minimal dialogue, as was spaghetti western maestro Sergio Leone, whose minimalistic visual storytelling can still tell a lot of story, mostly through his use of silence. Leone would often draw out a scene to emphasize its emotional impact, and Dexter's Lab followed suit. But the biggest influence on the show's visual style was the works of filmmaker Sam Raimi, whose dynamic visual style was inspired by comic books and slapstick comedy. A particular sequence that became a sort of visual mantra for the show was this scene, the robot hand sequence from the film Army of Darkness, which McCracken recalls Tartakovsky as being obsessed with replicating. In an interview with SYFY Wire, McCracken explained that Tartakovsky applied that sequence to the show all the time, especially when Dexter was building things. Many episodes were directed by Tartakovsky himself, as well as his ex-classmates Rob Renzetti and Craig McCracken, and writers included Family Guy creator Seth MacFarlane. Dexter's Laboratory received acclaim from critics and became one of Cartoon Network's most successful original series. Dexter's Laboratory, along with the Powerpuff Girls, helped define the style of Cartoon Network, with both being considered at the forefront of a second wave of innovative, creator-driven television animation, following the first wave with Ralph Bakshi's Mighty Mouse: The New Adventures and The Ren and Stimpy Show. Throughout its original run, Dexter's Laboratory was nominated for numerous Emmy and Annie Awards. Dexter's Laboratory ended its initial run in 1998, and was followed by an hour-long special, Ego Trip, which aired on Cartoon Network in 1999, in which Dexter travels through time and meets several of his future selves, as well as future iterations of his rival, Mandark. Ego Trip was originally supposed to conclude the series, but 2 additional seasons followed. Due to Tartakovsky's departure to launch his next series, Samurai Jack, Chris Savino served as showrunner and creative director for the revival, which aired for 2 more seasons from November 2001 to November 2003, airing 78 episodes in total. Christine Cavanaugh, the voice of Dexter throughout the original run of the series, reprised her role for the first few episodes of the revival before retiring from voice acting, and was replaced by Candy Milo for the remainder of the revival's run. The second series featured new character and background designs, alternative storyline and character backgrounds, and different sound effects, which were mostly all classic Hanna-Barbera sound effects, and featured the transition from traditional cell animation to digital ink and paint. As one of Cartoon Network's most successful original series, Dexter, as well as other characters from the show, have made cameo appearances in other animated series, from the Powerpuff Girls to I Am Weasel, and even Teen Titans Go. Beyond the series, Dexter's Laboratory has spawned 6 video games, while characters from the series were also featured in Cartoon Network Racing and Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion, and in addition 3 original Dexter's Laboratory music videos aired on Cartoon Network in August 2002. In April 2023, series creator Genndy Tartakovsky confirmed that he has no interest in another revival of Dexter's Laboratory, mainly due to the tragic passing of Dexter's original voice actress, Christine Cavanaugh, in 2014, and due to what Tartakovsky feels is an overabundance of recent cartoon reboots. A famous episode from early in the first season is The Big Cheese, in which Dexter decides to not study for his French test the next day and instead uses one of his own inventions to hypnotize himself into learning French while he sleeps. However, the record he is listening to skips, repeating the French phrase for cheese omelette, which is the only thing Dexter can say when he awakes the next morning. The episode is a perfect example of the show's themes and surrealist humor. So if you're new to Dexter's Laboratory and not sure where to start, I'd recommend checking out The Big Cheese, an episode which spawned a famous meme. For those of you who enjoyed the show when you were younger, let us know in the comments if you can remember the first episode you ever watched. And for bonus points, let us know if you can remember the password to Dexter's secret laboratory, which you enter at your own peril. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like this video if it brought back memories of 90s Cartoon Network. I'll be back again soon, so remember to subscribe for more content like this, and stay tuned for more cartoon history.